Well, this, as we said, is the successor to the NSX.
When the final NSX rolled off the assembly line in 2005, it closed a successful production run of about 18,000 cars. To most enthusiasts, that marked the end of the NSX, at least until the second generation was introduced a decade later. But in between these two automotive legends was a third, forgotten NSX, a concept car and a track-going counterpart that went head-to-head with the Lexus LFA and the Nissan GT-R. A commercial failure that turned into a motorsports success. Acura first announced their advanced sports car concept in December 2006. The press release made headlines around the world as the brand promised to provide a glimpse at the next generation Acura exotic sports car. Immediately, fans began to speculate that Honda may be preparing a successor to the fabled NSX. But what the Japanese automaker had in mind was a massive departure from the analog supercar. In fact, they had their sights set clearly on Toyota's LF-A prototype. And really, who didn't have an eye on this thing? A gorgeous coupe with a roaring V10 that made its debut at the 2005 Detroit Auto Show. Never mind that it wouldn't reach production for another several product cycles. It was already making the competition nervous and the customers horny. And it was exactly the target that Honda had in mind for their NSX replacement. They tasked John Ikeda with sculpting the project. Having just finished designing the Acura TL, he was fresh and primed to create the next Halo exotic.
Acura, we see technology and emotion coming to a head in the near future. We embrace technology happening right now. There's no way of downing that. From a stylist point of view, aggressiveness, we chose, we like to somebody right next to you has some slingshot. There's little ideas in that type. Might be a little bit different, and it's a combination of those two things that are making this car express advance for us.
When the wraps came off his vision, crowds were stunned by the drastic changes he had made. Hints to the original NSX are rare. A subtle black canopy top, wraparound taillights, LEDs that are reminiscent of the original pop-ups. But the advanced sports car concept had proportions that took a massive departure from its predecessor, due in part to the re-engineered drivetrain layout.
Now, it might say it's a concept, but in reality what this is, it's the precursor for the next generation NSX.
Following in the footsteps of Toyota, Honda planned for the ASCC to be a front mid-engine design, with all-wheel drive and a naturally aspirated 5-liter V10. Quite a departure from the humble V6 at the heart of the original NSX.
To us, it's not a GT car, it's a sports car.
It was also a blatant stab at the LFA project, with specifications so close that you'd think Honda was a copycat YouTuber. But the ASCC was positively received, and Honda allegedly began prepping a prototype for Nürburgring testing. But that is when disaster struck the economy.
We're down over 16%.
We're now down 43%.
The NASDAQ, everything and more has been completely wiped out.
It was the worst day on Wall Street.
Just broad-based declines across all of the major technology sectors.
We're just, every day they're pounding it.
May well lengthen the period of weak economic performance.
As the global markets crashed, sales numbers fell with it, causing automakers to cut spending on extraneous supercar projects. The next generation Acura exotic sports car was shelved. And that was the end of the road-going V10 NSX, killed by the recession like so many other legendary concepts, abandoned in the woods like my roommate's unwanted ferret. But although the dream of an NSX replacement was dead, its mechanical foundations would rise from the ashes to take the racing world by storm. You see, although the NSX was no longer in production, it was still competing in Super GT races all the way up to 2009, when it was forcibly retired due to rule changes. These rules in question required all entrants to be based on a front-engined rear-wheel drive platform, banning the mid-engine NSX from the circuit. In addition, the Super GT series stipulates that each race car needs to be a variant of a production model. And the only car that Honda had to fit this description was the ASCC concept. Although it never officially entered production, Honda received an exemption since it was technically a production-ready vehicle. In order to compete during the 2010 season, Honda completely redesigned the ASCC. The drivetrain layout remained for compliance purposes, but the heavy V10 was replaced with a 3.4-liter V8 borrowed from Honda's Formula Nippon car, the HR10EG. All 8 cylinders funneled into a single exhaust exit, which Honda admitted was a slightly inefficient design, but preferred it anyway for the sheer sound of the thing. The body of the car was also replaced with a more aerodynamic dry carbon exterior, reducing weight to a mere 1,100 kilos, with a style inspired by birds of prey. The name HSV-010, which stood for Honda Sports Velocity. In its debut event, the HSV struggled in poor weather conditions. An unfortunate incident on lap 11 took a pair of cars out of the running. But nonetheless, Honda still managed to put a car on the podium in 3rd place. Despite the setbacks in their first outing, the Honda Leader team went on to take the overall championship that year, using the brand new HSV to beat out Nissan's GTR and the Lexus SC430. A production failure, yet a stunning motorsports success. The winning driver was asked in an interview what he thought about the HSV competing despite never being offered as a production car. In response, he said, "I would have actually loved to win the title with a car I could drive on the road, because then I'd probably have bought one as a souvenir." The HSV competed for a total of 4 seasons, when it was finally replaced by the new and officially named NSX in 2014. Well, at least a loosely inspired front-engine edition of the NSX. The fact that Honda's vision of a V10 NSX never reached fruition is one of the biggest automotive tragedies to come from the recession. Looking back, we can only wonder what might have happened if Honda had gone all in the fight against the GTR and the LFA. Thanks for watching.